am Jackie Wicks with PEERtrainer, and I just read the most interesting article. It was in the Huffington Post, and it was written by Dr. Mercola. And the title was, sugar may be bad, but this is the most deadly sweetener. And of course I had to read it, and it was interesting. Basically, it was the first article really outlining fructose versus glucose. And fructose is what you see, it's called high fructose corn syrup. It's also crystallized fructose versus glucose, and glucose is that natural sugar that occurs in vegetables and fruits. And here are the main differences. It said why fructose is so bad, much worse than sugar. Fructose, of course, was created by, the cornfields, and that's why you hear about high fructose corn syrup. And what's interesting about it, in the 1970s, they discovered it was a lot cheaper to manufacture than regular sugar. And it was also 20% sweeter than sugar. So the food companies took hold of it. It's in every Coke every soda you can think of, condiments, most processed foods, and most, what they say in the article, most low-calorie diet foods, sort of those low-fat, low-carb kinds of things. And the problem with fructose is this. Not only is it, and of course I can do the litany, related to causing disease, raising cholesterol, it is so much worse on your liver. Fructose, again, glucose, what is in the natural fruits and vegetables, your liver takes about 20% to process it. Fructose, it's 100%. The other big problem with fructose is this. Fructose is, if you have 120 calories of glucose, like an apple, or 120 calories of fructose, your body can burn up the glucose. Your brain needs glucose, all the other organs in your body, but only 1 calorie is stored as fat. Fructose, 40 calories of those 120 calories are stored as fat. And here is the worst part, and I heard about this from Dr. Oz, but this was explained really well in this article. Glucose naturally suppresses this hunger hormone called ghrelin. I think it's ghrelin, I might not be pronouncing it right. And it stimulates leptin, which is an appetite suppressant, again, normally reacting in your body. What fructose does is it has absolutely no effect on that hunger hormone, but it actually messes with your brain's communication about the leptin, so it makes you think that you're not full, and that's why when you're eating this processed food, you're like, I'm still hungry. We get so many questions of, why am I always hungry? Why am I always hungry? It doesn't, what fructose does is it messes up the communication to this natural hormone in your body that lets you know, hey, I'm full, hey, I don't need any more food. And what's interesting is you read all this about fructose and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I still like sugar. So the natural question is obviously, and they said this in the article, what is the sugarholic supposed to do now? And what's interesting is he said stevia, again, he's saying all of these, I should really say this as a disclaimer, he's not saying that all of this is terrible. What he's saying is that the amount that we're eating is just absolutely excessive in your body. It's so taxing on the liver, and your body has no idea what to do with it. So he says, if you want sweet, organic cane sugar, organic raw honey. Of course, he says it in moderation. He says if you have diabetes, any sort of disease, you should be staying away from sugar completely. But he also acknowledged, which I love, is that in normal life, to sit there and say no sugar ever is nearly impossible. So he says, if you're going to have sugar, please do it in small amounts, and these are the good places to have it. But here's what's interesting, because agave is this big craze. He says agave is so processed that any of the benefits coming from the agave plant are completely removed, and it's almost 100% fructose, which I thought was so interesting because agave has been this really big, trendy thing.
Yeah, you see it at Whole Foods. You
see it everywhere, to get sweetener. And the funny thing is I've read a couple articles that say, hey, agave is not all that. And I found it very interesting that, he's presenting this argument that it's 100% fructose. And he's going to be writing this much larger paper about, fructose and high fructose corn syrup and how it's completely and totally infiltrating our society. As a consumer, in the U.S., we consume 124 pounds of sugar a year. Oh, it might be 173, and I might be wrong about that number. 124, 173. It's
a boatload.
Exactly. And what I think is the most interesting thing here is you have this comparison of what this natural sugar in fruits and vegetables used to do, glucose, and how your body needs this and how your brain needs it for energy. And fructose, what was obviously made and processed and modified, and how absolutely deadly it is to our bodies. So I definitely want to share it.
And what's just a quick takeaway for people? Like, what's an action item for people to do here?
The actionary thing is in the processed foods that you're eating, maybe the low carb or low diet foods you're eating, the sodas you're eating, all of these things. I want you to look at that label and see. There are many different words for fructose. When you see the word fructose, understand this is more deadly than even normal sugar has been.
And the tough thing for me is that I go on long runs and I often buy I buy drinks at convenience stores on my runs, and I look at the label. Fructose. But the tough thing for me is that I can't find anything that doesn't have corn syrup in it. The only thing that doesn't is vitamin water. So if you're looking for if you're a runner,
and coconut water doesn't either.
Well, I mean that's not available anywhere, but vitamin water is available everywhere.
Yeah.
So just a quick tip: buy the vitamin water, not the Gatorade.
Yeah.
So that's my own tip there. All right.